Identity is not something you discover. It is something you build. Introduction. You are not found, you are formed. People often say things like, I need to find myself. One day I'll discover who I really am. Maybe my true identity is hiding somewhere inside me. But identity is not a buried treasure that you stumble upon one afternoon. It is not waiting at the end of a magical road, nor does it suddenly appear after a moment of inspiration. Identity is constructed, crafted, built, chosen, reinforced, brick by brick, decision by decision, habit by habit. Every day you are laying the foundation of the person you are becoming, not by accident, but through action. The truth is simple but powerful. You do not discover who you are. You decide who you are becoming, and then you build it. This speech is about that journey. It is about ordinary people who became extraordinary, not because fate handed them an identity, but because they took responsibility for shaping one. Let us walk through stories, reflections, and chapters that remind us, your identity is in your choices. Your character is in your habits. Your future self is under construction, right now. Chapter 1. The Foundation of Becoming. Identity is a daily decision. Identity does not begin with a dramatic event. It begins with small choices that seem invisible at first. Whether you act with discipline or procrastination, whether you practice honesty or excuses, whether you push forward or settle, those choices silently shape who you are becoming. A teacher once told a class, every day you vote for the person you will become. Identity is not a noun, it is a verb, not a label, but a lifestyle, not something you find, but something you build across time. And to understand this, let us begin with a story. Story: David and the decision to change. David grew up believing one thing about himself. I'm just lazy, that's the way I am. He slept late, avoided responsibilities, forgot assignments, and brushed everything aside with excuses. At school, one of his teachers noticed the pattern and said something that struck his heart. David, laziness is not who you are, it is something you practice. And anything you practice, you become. Those words stayed with him. He realized identity was not fixed. It was not stamped onto him at birth. So David made one small commitment. I will do one responsible thing each day. Just one. The next morning, he woke up 10 minutes earlier. The day after, he wrote his tasks in a notebook. Then he helped his younger sister with homework. None of these actions were dramatic. No one clapped, no spotlight shone on him, but something powerful was happening. His habits were changing. His attitude was shifting. His identity was being rebuilt, silently and steadily. Months later, his grades improved. His teacher trusted him more. His parents noticed maturity in his behavior. People around him started saying, David is responsible now. But he didn't discover responsibility. He built it, one decision at a time. And that is where identity begins, in choices we repeat when no one is watching. Chapter 2. The identity you practice, you become. What you choose to reinforce, you become. Every behavior you repeat sends a message to your brain. Help someone? I am compassionate. Avoid the truth? I am dishonest. Quit when difficult? I am someone who gives up. Try again after failure? I am someone who grows. Identity is practice embodied. You cannot claim to be disciplined while living without discipline. You cannot claim to be kind while choosing selfish actions. You cannot claim to be determined while quitting every challenge. Identity follows behavior, not the other way around. Let us look at another story. Story: Tehillah and the courage to show kindness. Tehillah was soft-spoken, shy, and unsure of herself. At school, a new girl often sat alone. Tehillah noticed her constantly, sitting quietly,
eating by herself, pretending not to care, but clearly
feeling isolated. Tehila felt something inside her whisper, "Go sit with her." But fear answered back, "What if she ignores you? What if others laugh? What if you say the wrong thing?" One afternoon, she gathered courage and simply sat beside the girl. No speeches, no big gestures, just presence. They spoke. They laughed a little. Slowly, conversation grew. Eventually, others joined the table. That small act changed more than the new girl's day. It changed Tehila. From that moment, she made a quiet rule. If someone feels left out, I will include them. She didn't wait to feel confident first. She acted with kindness, and confidence followed. Soon, people trusted her. Friends opened up to her. Others described her as the one who makes people belong. Tehila did not discover kindness hidden somewhere deep within. She built kindness into her identity through action. And identity built intentionally becomes identity remembered. Chapter 3. Failure does not define you. Growth does. Many people believe failure reveals their identity. I failed. That means I'm not good enough. I made a mistake. That means I'll never improve. But failure does not define identity. Response defines identity. Let us see how. Story: Michael and the Journey of Perseverance. Michael loved basketball. He practiced every weekend, dreamed of joining the school team, and imagined himself wearing the team jersey proudly. The day of tryouts arrived. He ran, he jumped, he played his best. But when the list was posted, his name was not there. His heart dropped. Some students laughed. Others shrugged and walked away. That evening, he nearly convinced himself, maybe basketball just isn't for me. But then a different thought formed. Not making the team doesn't mean I'm not capable. It means I'm not ready. Yet. Instead of collapsing into disappointment, Michael made a new decision. He practiced every afternoon. He studied footwork drills. He watched training videos. He asked an older player to mentor him. He worked when nobody was watching. Months later, another tryout came. He didn't walk in with fear. He walked in with growth behind him. That day, he made the team. But the real victory wasn't the result. The victory was the identity he had built. I am someone who improves. Michael did not discover perseverance inside himself like a hidden object. He built perseverance through dedication, and that identity made him stronger for life, not just for sports. Chapter 4. Identity is built through habits. Your habits shape your character. Identity isn't built by dramatic moments. It is built by repeated patterns. What you repeatedly read, think about, watch, practice, speak, accept, avoid, pursue, gradually becomes your character. You cannot become confident while repeating habits of insecurity. You cannot become excellent while practicing mediocrity. You cannot become wise while feeding your mind with empty influences. Identity grows through alignment. Let's walk into another story. Story: Linda and the choice to become disciplined. Linda grew tired of feeling unproductive. She constantly said, "I want to change my life." But her daily habits said the opposite. Late night scrolling, unfinished tasks, promises made to herself, then broken. One day, she looked in the mirror and asked, "Do my actions match the identity I claim to want?" The answer was no. So she made a decision, not a dramatic one, a practical one. She slept earlier. She began reading 10 minutes a day. She created a small daily routine. She finished tasks one at a time. The transformation was gradual, quiet, almost invisible. But a year later, she was more confident, more disciplined, more self-assured. People said, "Linda is so organized now." But organization was not discovered. It was constructed through discipline. Identity rises with routine, or collapses without it. Chapter 5. You are not your past. The past may shape your memories, but it does not own your future. Many
People allow old mistakes to chain them to outdated identities. I've always been careless. I've always been afraid. This is just who I am. But identity is not a prison. Identity is a project. You are not permanently defined by earlier versions of yourself. You are allowed to update, adapt, evolve, reinvent. Every day gives you a hammer and a brick, and the chance to keep building. Let's continue with another life-shaping story. Story: Samuel and the Weight of Old Labels. Growing up, Samuel was often called the troublemaker, the stubborn one, the kid who never listens. He began to wear those labels like clothing, not because they were true, but because he heard them repeatedly. Teachers expected him to misbehave. Students expected him to cause problems. Soon, he expected it of himself too. But one afternoon, after a difficult day at school, a counselor spoke to him gently. "Samuel, you are not a problem. You are a person learning who you want to become. You can choose differently." That conversation opened a window inside his heart. He began doing small things differently, pausing before reacting, walking away from arguments, helping instead of disrupting. Slowly, the label faded, not because others changed their opinion first, but because he changed his behavior first. Years later, Samuel became a youth mentor, guiding kids who struggled like he once did. He didn't discover a new identity. He rebuilt himself from the inside out. Chapter 6. Identity requires responsibility. To build identity, you must take responsibility for your choices, for your habits, for your mindset, for your reactions, for your growth. You cannot build identity while blaming life, luck, or others. Growth begins when you say, "I am responsible for who I am becoming." Not everything that happens to you is your fault, but how you respond is always your responsibility, and those responses form identity. Let's explore another inspiring story. Story: Grace and a Choice to Rise.
Grace lost her job unexpectedly. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. She felt discouraged. She began to believe, maybe I'm just unlucky. Maybe nothing works for me. One evening, she sat alone and asked herself, who do I want to be in this moment? A victim of circumstance or a builder of my future? She made a bold choice. She began learning new skills. She volunteered to gain experience. She built a small freelance project. She networked and applied again and again. Eventually, she found an even better career path, one she wouldn't have discovered otherwise. Grace did not rebuild her identity because life was easy. She rebuilt it because she refused to surrender her direction. Identity grows when you take ownership of your life story. Chapter 7. Becoming the person you intend to be. Identity begins with a question. Who do I want to become? And then another. What daily actions match that identity? If you want to be wise, study consistently. If you want to be courageous, face small fears regularly. If you want to be kind, practice compassion intentionally. If you want to be disciplined, respect your commitments. Identity is alignment between intention and behavior. Let's move into another story of transformation. Story: Daniel and the Power of Intentional Living. Daniel dreamed of being a leader, someone others respected. But he rarely followed through on tasks, arrived late to meetings, and avoided challenges. One day, a mentor told him, "Leadership is not a position. It is an identity built through responsibility." Daniel reflected deeply. He stopped chasing titles and started working on character. He showed up early. He prepared thoroughly. He supported others. He stood by his word. Over time, people naturally trusted him. He did not declare himself a leader. His behavior built leadership into his identity.
Identity grows not when you talk about who you want to be, but when you live like who you want to be. Chapter 8. Becoming is a
lifelong journey. Identity is never finished. You do not build yourself once, you build yourself continuously. Every season of life invites refinement. Childhood teaches curiosity. Teen years teach resilience and self-belief. Young adulthood teaches responsibility. Adulthood teaches purpose, contribution, and wisdom. Identity evolves, but only if you keep building. You are not required to remain who you were yesterday. Every morning whispers, "Become again." Reflection. Questions for your journey. Ask yourself, who am I becoming through my habits? Do my actions match the identity I desire? What values do I want to embody daily? What habits must I add or remove to support that identity? And most importantly, am I living intentionally or accidentally? Because identity does not grow by accident. It grows through conscious effort. Conclusion. You are the architect of your becoming. Identity is not discovered like treasure. It is built like a house, brick by brick, choice by choice, habit by habit, season by season. You are not trapped by labels. You are not limited by your past. You are not defined by failure. You are a builder, and every day you are placing another stone into the person you are becoming. So stand tall, live intentionally, act with purpose, because your identity is not waiting to be found. It is waiting to be built by you.